You are very welcome to along. You're very welcome along to Special Trader Chat, and this is all about the Eurovision, one of the most intriguing and unique Eurovision Song Contests in terms of betting and the competition itself that we've ever had, for reasons obviously that are far more serious than a podcast. But there is value to be had somewhere. Is the value with Ukraine, or is the value with all of these other horses running at massive each-way prices? And we have John Brackenridge, the novelty specialist at Star Sports, in the house. John, how are you?
Hi, Johnny. You okay?
Yeah, JB is the man, Flynn, for the novelty markets. And this, obviously, without getting into it too much right now, is a very, very unique Eurovision with an 8-13 favourite that otherwise might be 100-1 in a normal year.
It is indeed. I mean, I'll claim to know absolutely nothing about Eurovision. I'll leave that to JB. But just in terms of what the market looks like, 8-13 Ukraine, you're 6-1 Italy, 6-1 United Kingdom, which is just absolute madness. 8-1 Sweden, 20-1 Spain, 28-1 Poland, 33 Greece, and then you are 50-1 bar. We've got plenty of other markets on site as well. So we've got the semi-finals, we've got lots of builder bets where teams are Dutch to qualify or not to qualify. We've got top 5 finish, top 10 finish, enhanced win only, which JB will talk about shortly. So there's loads going on in terms of markets for Eurovision on the site. And like you say, a very different favourite for different reasons than you would normally imagine, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like Flynn. I don't know anything about these songs. It's something that I used to love the Eurovision back in the day when Ireland won it every year, but now we've become really poor. But explain to us, JB, what is the format? We know why Ukraine are so short, but should they be so short? How does the voting work?
Yeah, so what we've got, so since 2016, we now get equal jury and televote. And in a nutshell, what that is your televote is what you and me would ring up to vote for who your favourite act is. And your jury vote is music professionals or industry professionals from each country. And obviously they give a voting system as to of their order of how they like it, with 12 points going to whoever they like the most, all the way down to 1 point. And obviously those that get 0 points are ones that the countries aren't particularly interested in. So that's how it works. Really, you need to it's very difficult to win if you've only got a really good televote and you don't get a good jury vote. And on the flip side, if you get a really good jury vote, but your televote isn't there, it's difficult to win. So really what you want to look for in a Eurovision song is something that's going to perform well on both metrics.
Okay, so I suppose the first question is, how good is Ukraine's actual song? And I did mention the fact that it would be a much bigger price, obviously, but you're not of the opinion it's actually a song that's necessarily good enough to win this.
No, I'm not personally. I mean, look, I don't think it's a secret that had Ukraine had the war not started in Ukraine, this would be a fairly big price runner. I mean, we're talking at least 50-1, if not 3 figures. It's a kind of hip hop rap song. It to me doesn't make me feel. It kind of feels like if this was like a ballad type song, it would really strike a bit more into it about the situation, what's going on. But I mean, this is like a hip hop rap song. It seems a very, very short favourite to me. I mean, we're looking to take it on. We've got an enhanced win market up, which we're 4-6 Ukraine, which is pretty much the best you'll get in the industry, believe it or not. There's firms that are really ducking Ukraine this year, and again, I can completely see why.
What sort of prices have we laid?
So we've laid, yeah. So when it all started, we have people coming on. So we laid it at 10-1 just for a little bit, and then it was backed all the way down to about 4-1. And then we haven't really seen loads of it. We haven't seen any real big hitters coming in, but it's just shortening all the time. Really, the punters are trying to find an alternative to it, which is kind of where I'm coming from, my point of view. So we're offering each way quarter the odds 4 places, which is an industry best. A lot of firms are really trying to sort of swerve this with kind of a bad each way angle, to use a racing term. So a lot of like certain big company in Ireland are 3 places, a fifth of the odds. Other firms are 4 places, a fifth of the odds. So we're sticking our neck up. We're quarter of the odds 4 places. And obviously we're also trying to take on Ukraine at the top of the market. But it could be one of those years where it's genuinely like it starts well, it just takes off, and there's not a contender to be seen. But the thing is, at the moment, we just don't know. We don't know where it's going to fall into it. So at the prices, I think it's short enough.
Okay, well, even if Ukraine are value and it's hard to weigh it up, there must be some each way value because of just the makeup of this market.
100%, yeah, and I think that's generally the sort of bet. I'll run through sort of where we are with some of our liabilities shortly, but that's really what the punters are kind of trying to latch onto. I think there's reasons to think that the Ukraine could win by a landslide, but there's also plenty of reasons in my mind that they might not. So yeah, I think there's some alternative barrier to be had. I think Flynn's going to run through each country individually, and I'm going to say a few words on each of them. I'll tell you what my thoughts are and kind of why I feel that, and who we're looking to take on in terms of a firm, where we've seen money already, and some of the markets we've got available.
Beautiful. So Flynn, do your best here, because I know you're not having the UK at sixes for some reason, but there are some other candidates that I know JB is keen on.
Yes, exactly. So just first, JB, I was just explaining before that I feel like this is the Chester of a novelty market. So obviously the draw is such an important part of a Eurovision, and the draw is such an important part of Chester. They tend to sometimes pull the horses out for other reasons when they get a wide draw at Chester. I'm surprised some of the nations don't pull themselves out if they get an early draw here. How important is the draw in Eurovision, and what factors are we looking at? So I know you're talking about the jury vote and the public vote and all that type of stuff, but what other factors are we looking at in terms of looking for a good all-round candidate to win Eurovision?
Yeah, so the draw is important. The big five, as they call it, who are the five who kind of support it the most financially, in a sense, they automatically qualify. So as a result of that, they've already been drawn a slot. So we don't necessarily know when in the order, but we know if they're performing in the first half or the second half. So we'll get into it in a bit. But for example, UK's price has crashed recently because they've drawn a second half draw, and we'll find out on Friday exactly where that is. You can win from a first half draw; it has happened. But if you're looking at the stats to use sort of a Chester draw bias, you can win from a high draw. But if you've got a later draw, it's a big advantage. I mean, if you're thinking more on the televote side of things, let's use Ukraine as an example. Were Ukraine to get a first half draw and the EBU decided that they wanted to put them in at sort of 3 or 4, get the show open, by the time you then had another 22 acts after that, when the voting line's open, is it fresh in your mind? Oh, I need to go back and vote for the Ukraine or whatever country that may be. So, you know, without knowing, that's why to me the price on Ukraine is even more sort of balmy, because you don't know. You don't know where they're going to be drawn, and also you don't know if Eurovision want Ukraine to kind of host it. Eurovision kind of
this is a key point.
Yeah. So Eurovision kind of, some people might laugh at this, but Eurovision pride themselves on being a proper musical contest. The best song wins, and arguably, if Ukraine win, it's a political statement that the EBU might not wish to have. So there's an argument that maybe there's already like talk of it going down, like that some of their stage with like a lot of the lighting in Ukraine colours has been sort of toned down somewhat. There's thoughts that potentially they might be put in if they draw first, I thought they might be put in early. And they might be put around other acts that are kind of similar to them, which kind of what they do a lot of times is with these acts that are similar, they'll kind of merge them to get like next to each other, so they're in the order, and it kind of like rolls onto another one. So you kind of, there's nothing memorable about it. So there's a lot of things they can do, but it's an unknown. We don't know. That's not what Eurovision want. We're just speculating, which is why, you know, if you're betting that price at 4 to 6 when there's so many unknowns, you know, fair play to you, but that wouldn't be for me. I'd be looking to find alternatives to that myself.
Well, let's speculate to accumulate then. With what?
Yeah, So start with Ukraine, JB. So let's go through. Let's say the first 8 to 10. If I just say the country and the price, and just give us three or 4 sentences on why they should be that price and your views on them. So just quickly, Ukraine 8 to 13.
Could win by a landslide. Could not finish in the top 3. They're probably going to get a good televote, even if they're quite low in the order. But will they get as big a televote as they might need? Because in theory, the jury side of things, if it was any other year, the juries shouldn't be putting this anywhere near a sort of top 10, even top 15 potentially. So if the juries vote for purely on a musical and staging, then they might not, even if they get a huge televote, they need some jury support as well. So it's too much of an unknown for me. If people are backing them at these sort of prices, then good luck to them. But for me, I think they're just a little bit too short.
Is there a chance that they will get a bit of jury vote, but not a big jury vote, just so that the jury are seen to be not well. I guess supporting Ukraine. Really, they don't want to be seen to not giving anything, but equally they might not want to give maximum points because they want to genuinely give that to the song that they feel is the best. So they could be getting 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think that there's an argument of that because they're then showing on the screens that they're supporting Ukraine, they're supporting Ukraine, they're supporting Ukraine, but will they be in that sort of 8, 10, 12 points bracket enough? And then obviously, even if then you're kind of relying on the televote, you're kind of then thinking, well, then they're going to need the 10 points, 12 points just to make up that difference. So watching brief on Ukraine, I would say. But we do, just while we're on that, we do have a betting without market. So if you're a bit kind of concerned about the Ukraine, about the unknown of like what that might bring, will they just smash it and you've got no value? We're actually betting without the Ukraine. Again, each way 4 places for those that want to bet each way. So we're currently UK and Italy 9-4 favourites, Sweden at 11-4, Spain at 10-1, Poland 16-1, Greece 18-1, and 20-1 bar. So again, if that's something where you just want to kind of take Ukraine out of the equation, you don't want to worry about them. You don't want to worry about where they're going to be drawn or are they going to get that second half slot or what the jury's going to do, then that could be a market that might tickle your fancy.
There's just so many variables with Ukraine that could impact them. If you're taking the real short price about them, I really think it is mental. But like JB said, industry top price of 4-6-4 for Ukraine. Then we move on to Italy, who obviously won it last year. They're in there at 6-1.
Yeah, so they'd be probably the class runner of the field, if you like. The song is huge. The spot. So one of the things I look for when I'm looking at sort of Eurovision is there's a website actually is really good for filtering it out. It's called Telestats. And a guy Dan who runs it, there's a breakdown like the stats that you get off Instagram, off YouTube, off Twitter, off all sorts of stuff. So one of the interesting ones that he's put together there is the Spotify stats. And it's head and shoulders above anything on Spotify. It's been a really big hit. Obviously, a lot of the Spotify hits will come from Italy, but there's also traction outside of it. And it probably is the class runner of the field. It's drifted. It's been as short as sort of 3-1. It's drifted to 6-1 because the rehearsals haven't been quite as tight as they should be. There's concerns that the 2 guys that are doing it are kind of just like, for example, the first rehearsal, only one of them bothered turning up. The other one apparently had a concert that night, so he didn't turn up for it. And the second rehearsal was a little bit laboured. They looked tired. So, there's some doubts over Italy, but I would say that's a class runner of the field, really. And that could be the one each way. You know, if you wanted a short one, an each way bet to nothing, let's say, that Italy really should do well on both jury and televote. So I could see that hitting the top 3 in jury and the top 3 in televote. And ultimately, if you do that, you've got a very good chance of winning. But even if you're only hitting top 5, top 6 of both, it's still a decent each way bet at 6-1, quarter the odds 4 places for me. Okay.
And the UK are in there at 6-1.
Mighty short. I mean, they've drawn a second half, which is obviously a massive deal for them, which is why obviously, that's built into the price now, where I would say. I mean, it's one of those ones in the UK. Sam Ryder's really likeable guy. He's a TikTok star. He's got over 1 million followers on TikTok. The BBC actually shipped their own staging in. So it's got like this kind of silver, I think it's meant to be a rocket, but like staging around him, which like collapses. And it's meant to be like this really big show. And it's got a massive good press reaction to it when he had the full rehearsal on Saturday. It's meant to be one that the juries are really going to like as well. So again, you get that support. I mean, my main issue with the UK is like, just look at our record, especially with televote over the last sort of 10, 15 years. Like we haven't hit the top 10 for something like 15 years, something like that. I haven't got the stats to hand, but we've just performed so badly in televote. And while I can see this being so much better, and I think this will probably be our best finish for years and years, and probably getting in the top 10, I just don't see how we go from such a low bar to all of a sudden hitting heights to win it. So we've been keen to not necessarily be against Sam Ryder in the UK, but we've been competitively priced on them, and they're actually currently our biggest liability. So whether or not that's people who see the UK and the televote potential completely different to what we do, or it's the patriotic punters wanting a little bet. I actually sent on WhatsApp to one of my friends the other day who's once a year Eurovision backer, and I just said, can you believe it, UK are now second favourites? And then we were in a pub on Saturday and he said, oh yeah, I backed them. So just like, he literally doesn't bet at all, but he's like, oh, I'll back them now because I want to have a 5 in the UK. So if they win it, it's like, So, you know, maybe it's a sense of that. But yeah, they'd be our worst position at the moment. But it's a position I'm quite comfortable in. And I mean, weirdly, I'm a Eurovision fan. I'd like the UK to win. It'd be good to have it over here. But I just really struggling to see it myself on the televote side of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just can't have it at all. We're just so not liked by other nations. I just can't see that we can get the votes. But we do have some UK specials on site as well. So if you wanted to delve into the UK a bit more, UK to finish in the top 10, 3 to 10. Not to finish in the top 10 there at 9 to 4. UK to finish in last place, which would have been much shorter in previous years, is double carpet 33 to 1. And UK to score 0 points in the final 66 to 1. So there's loads of UK specials to get stuck into there. That's the top 3. Moving on to Sweden at 8 to 1.
Yeah, so Sweden was one of my original favourites. A woman called Cornelia Jacobs, who won Melfest. So Sweden always gets a lot of traction because Melfest, along with the Italian one, they're huge. They're huge competitions where the whole country gets behind. Like, remember the old days of like Pop Stars and Pop Idol and all that? It's like the equivalent there. So it's kind of like Italy, Sweden always have like a high bar of what they send. So these songs tend to always gather a lot of traction leading up to the contest. They had a lot of rehearsal issues on last Thursday or last Friday. So that's drifted a little bit. We were around about 5 to 1 as of a week ago. We're now 8 to 1. If you want to bet them each way, 17 to 2 with an enhanced win. I could still do it. I could still see them running a decent race. What you want to see now is you want to see like the momentum really build this sort of week or two, and that's what's happened with the UK. Like the momentum with Sam Ryder's really built, and that's why he's come to favourite. Spain, who we'll touch on in a minute, have really got some momentum behind them with the rehearsals. Sweden just don't have that at the minute. You've also got the uncertainty around the draw with Sweden. You don't know where they're going to draw. I think if she has got any chance of winning, or if for Sweden, I think she has to be a second half. I think if she's a first half draw, I struggle to see how they get into the top 3 if they draw first half. If it gets the second half, then all is not lost with Sweden. I think it's a really good song. It's one of the better songs this year, but the momentum is not really behind Sweden at the moment.
Spain 20 to 1. So we kind of jump now from those single figures up to kind of a big double figure prize. So 20 to 1 for España.
Yeah, so these are the ones where if you want a bit of juice on your bone, I suppose, you want to find one at at a price now, but realistically could do something. Generally speaking, by the time you get to sort of Friday, there's normally sort of the first 3 in the market are normally the ones that go on to win. But that's not to say there hasn't been surprises at bigger prices going into the day of a contest. There's normally always one at a price of sort of 33 to 1 upwards who sneaks into sort of that top 4. So looking through some of the bigger runners, Spain at 20s. We're currently top price Spain at the moment. They've drawn first half, although I do think they'll be one of the latter entrants in the first half. So they might come in at sort of 11, 12, something like that. Very high energy, solo female, very erotic dancing, very erotic clothing. Well, not much clothing, but she's certainly catching the attention of a lot of the sort of the Euro fan community. This is the one they really jumped on as like the dance anthem of Eurovision. It's performing really well in all the metrics you look at. So rehearsal views, rehearsal likes, Instagram likes, all that sort of stuff. Spain's performing really well. I just wonder how much when it gets up to the broader nation, they're going to pick up their phone for Spain, and also I can see it falling down on the jury vote a little bit as well. So I'd probably be against Spain kind of from an each way angle. I think there's better alternatives, although, it's definitely one to watch and enjoy, I would say.
Oh, good stuff. I'll tune in for that one then towards the last stage of the first draw. Moving on to Poland, I'm going to come to you, Johnny, first, because we are actually recording this for the second time, because the first time Johnny forgot to click the big red button and record. So we have spoken about Poland before, but Johnny had a bit of an angle with Poland, didn't you, at 28 to 1?
Well, apparently JB will tell us their song's not bad, but the polls have been so good in terms of the refugee crisis. There might be actually a goodwill vote there that goes to them as opposed to maybe Ukraine. Might be not as daft as it sounds, JB.
No, I think it's a really good point you made actually on that one. So Poland's a one which I think is a bit of touch of class about it. But again, it's a male solo artist, and he's got an absolutely fantastic voice. The song I think is really good. There was a concern around the staging and him and how relatable he was to the audience, and that's a really, really big thing in Eurovision. What I would say is worth doing is, if you're going to have a bet on any of these markets and look at the countries, rather than kind of going in blind, if you like, have a look on YouTube on the Eurovision site and just look at the sort of 40-second clips of each of the ones at the top of the market. See what you can gauge. See what you can gauge from that. See how you as a viewer, would you vote for that? And like, Poland are really up to the game with the staging, and I think all of a sudden it's a bit of a runner again now. So we're currently 28-1 winning each way, 33-1 enhanced, 16-1 without Ukraine. Yeah, I think it's just got potential to be a bit of a sleeper, actually, Poland. And obviously with what Johnny's saying, were Poland to draw a second half draw, which is every chance, like with a lot of the first half slots being already taken by the big five, so to speak. Poland get a second half draw with some good with a good performance. You know that Poland, well, you don't know anything in Eurovision, but it's very likely to be a top 5 jury vote, Poland, just with his vocal ability. If the public go for it with a second half draw, it could be a real sleeper bet.
What about dear old Ireland at 350s?
Well, we've got to qualify first, Johnny. So
we used to win this thing.
Yeah, so qualifications on Thursday. Funnily enough, Jordan in the office is all over Ireland to qualify. He's been saying it for the last week or so. He can't believe they're the price they are. So we're 3-1 Ireland to qualify. It's a competitive semi-final. There's a lot of countries you can kind of put a line through, so to speak. Ireland would probably one I would put a line through, but Jordan's starting to convince me a little bit more now. Just we're constantly saying it every day, but yeah, look, I can't see it going and winning. It would be one of the more surprising results, but you never know. I mean, again, with all of these things, see how it goes down on Thursday in the semi-final. If it qualifies and it's got a bit of momentum behind it, so you never know. The top 10 price might look a bit appealing come Friday morning.
Let's sum up roughly where you have. Give us some like 3 bets to look at that aren't Ukraine.
Okay, so obviously I've mentioned Poland, so everyone I'd maybe let's get through. I mean, if you're not so convinced on the win market, then you know you can be looking at top 5 with 9-4 top 5. There's a bit of value I reckon to be had potentially in the Netherlands. They would be a little each way springer for me. That's a female ballad. My only kind of concern with her is it's quite a busy. There's quite a few female ballad singers in there. So Greece is very similar. Portugal, although it's not a female on her own, but she's with a sort of supporting group. I worry that they'll kind of take votes away from each other. That's my only kind of concern with Netherlands. But the positives for Netherlands, I think, at the prices outweigh the negatives for me. It's been long spoken about that this is going to be sort of at least top 10, but maybe even top 5 of jury votes. And as I touched on earlier, you need to kind of have a good equal split. The televoting stuff that I'm looking at has all been very positive for Netherlands. There's a thing called a Eurovision app where people rate where they put the acts in. So they have their own Eurovision leaderboard, and it goes all the way from 1 right away down to the bottom. And Netherlands, believe it or not, are 3rd in that. So that, as well as they've got good Spotify streams. Their rehearsal clips that they had the other day look solid in terms of viewers, and if you think they're going to get a good jury vote, then potentially that's one to sneak into it at place money. Again, like Sweden, I think she'd really help from having a later second half draw. That would be a thing for me. So Netherlands could be one for watching brief to see where she ends up on Friday, but potentially at a price, Netherlands would be one that would interest me.
Flynn, are you convinced?
Yeah, I think I'll be taking a bit of Poland and Netherlands each way, to be fair. 28-1, 60-1 with the quarterly odds 4 places. JB, is it best to wait and see what the draw's going to do, or is it best just to take the punt and hope that you get a decent draw and then your 60 pokes now a 33 poke? How much are these prices going to fluctuate once the draw's out?
Look, they're not going to go like, so. For example, Spain was generally around about 14-1 one shot. If then drew a first half, it's now generally about 18-1 shot. We're 20s. It depends where specifically they end up in the order. So I imagine if Spain were then at 4 or 5, they're probably going to bounce out again. Were they to get sort of a 30, 12 slot, say, they're going to probably shorten again. So it will make a difference to the market. I mean, me saying it makes a big difference. Most of my bets I've already had, so I'm kind of taking the punt, but hoping that they get good draws, they get a good bit of momentum. I've got a bit of value maybe, and then I go from there. I guess it's all about, you know, it's that thing, isn't it? It's the gambler in you. It's do you wait or do you go? I think everyone's kind of unique in what you do. I mean, personally, at those prices, I'd probably wrap them up. I'd probably wrap them up myself. You know, you've got them. If you get a good draw, you know, and it looks favourable, you get a good performance, you've got a bit of run for your money then, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, just quickly, Johnny, from my standpoint, I could have the bets now, and then if I'm on a bit of steamer, then I'll watch it, and if I'm on a drifter, then I might have to watch it, and it's win-win.
Yeah.
Win-win, and it is a unique Eurovision. If you want to watch and see what happens, obviously with the Ukraine, but also analyze the quality of the other songs, it's a fascinating one. JB, that was brilliant stuff.
No worries. Oh, yeah, keep eyes on the site. We've got loads of different markets up. We'll be adding more throughout the week as we build up to momentum. Markets on the semi-finals, which is Tuesday and Thursday. And yeah, all systems go. Betting in play on Eurovision on a Saturday night.
Thanks very much to JB. Thanks very much to Flynn. That was a unique Trader Chat looking ahead to Eurovision. We will be back with normal Trader Chat, and we'll be all the wiser next week.